Happy Friday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of Drankin' Champagne. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Champagne, Andrew Champagne. Andrew, how are you doing, my friend?
It's Friday. Let's go. We made it. We made it. Oh, sorry. Wrong gimmick. Wrong gimmick. Wrong gimmick. Sorry. Lord Miles, 59-1. Wood Memorial, 2023. Something. We're recording this at a different time of the week, so I figured I'd try some new to me material. At any rate, it's been a heck of a year this week. You can take that however you want. We discovered something about an hour ago, right before we started filming. And I want to lead off the show with this, Josh, because this baffles me, okay? And it baffles me because underneath the shtick, underneath the pompousness that sometimes goes out there as a way to make content and make me stand out in what's otherwise sometimes a pretty stodgy industry, I really don't have that high of an opinion of myself. I truly don't. And I discovered something that the existence of this baffles me. I was on YouTube and I don't know how I saw it, but all of a sudden I see this YouTube video, Andrew Champagne, Saratoga picks an analysis for da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I click on it. Someone with an AI video channel with a couple of thousand subscribers took my Saratoga content from either the Pink Sheet or my site, andrewchampagne.com, put an AI voice behind it, generated some photos to use as like a 9-minute slideshow as this is going, and posted it to YouTube. My stuff got content farmed. I didn't think I was a big enough deal to get content farmed.
I don't think AI cares how big of a deal you are. I think AI is just farming all content at this point. But
well, I mean, some AI somewhere has decided I'm a worthy source of content to farm. So, yay, I guess. In the words of The Simpsons, I for one welcome our computer overlords.
I was not going to talk about that. I was actually going to bring up a funnier story.
Oh, you got a funnier story? Let's hear this.
Well, not funnier, but like, I mean, I don't know. This segment brought to you by our friends over at DRF. Ask DRF AI. Chat.drf.com. Check that stuff out there. I'm like I've mentioned probably before. I'm very AI. I'm an AI skeptic. I think there are some uses for it, but like it's funny. Like at work, there's a lot of people I know who are like, "Oh, I'm gonna put this email through AI and just so it can word it better." And I'm just kind of like, I don't care enough to. I can't think of a time where I'm like so worried about sending an email that like I need to run it through AI for something. So like I don't know that I personally have not found much of a use for AI. I'm sure the time will come where I will need its help at some point, but you were talking about Friday, we made it, all this other stuff, and my wife's cousin is getting married soon. She's
cool.
Getting married on Labor Day weekend. So she's getting married locally here, and she's young. She got a advanced degree in physical therapy. I think she's technically a doctor of physical therapy. So she's been in school for a long time. She's been out of school for about a year at this point. I don't know if it's been a full year or if it's just been like a school year, where she was done in the fall, right? She was talking to my wife, and she tells my wife, she's like, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to the next couple of weekends." And this was a couple of weeks ago. They're actually, last week was their wedding shower. This week is their bachelorette party. But this was a couple of weeks ago. And so my wife, thinking that like she's looking forward to the shower, looking forward to the bachelorette party. She's like, that stuff's a couple weeks away. Why are you looking forward to the next couple weekends? And she just goes, because it's going to be the weekend. And my wife kind of looks at her and she goes, all I do is look forward to the weekend now. I feel like all I do is work Monday through Friday and look forward to Saturday. And my wife's telling me the story. I just break out laughing. And I'm like, welcome to the show, kid. That's the rest of us. That's welcome to the rat race. That's what's going to happen.
Well,
The next for her probably the next 40 years
hey,
at
so
this
that's
point.
your
So
cousin you were saying?
that's my wife's cousin.
Okay, your wife's cousin. Well, Dr. Josh's wife's cousin, congratulations. Welcome to the group. We don't have t-shirts, but we have these fancy things that we wear and flash in people's faces whenever we want to. So yeah, enjoy yourself.
Yeah. So Andrew, before we get going, do there was a very a very Andrew person that passed away today that had let's say not that great time since retiring, or I mean maybe since his heyday that passed away. I don't know if you have a couple of words for someone who I think was probably very centric to young Andrew's upbringing.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. Don't ever compare me to Hulk Hogan ever again.
I wasn't comparing you to Hulk Hogan. I
So,
was
well, no,
saying,
you said a very Andrew person, and that's
well,
no.
yeah, because he's a wrestler and you're a freaking wrestling
Well,
nerd.
yes, he's a wrestler, but he was a pretty terrible human being who admitted to being kind of racist and had several tapes come out and had one of the worst apologies in the history of crisis communications. And then, thankfully, the last time he showed up on WWE television was the Netflix debut, where he got booed out of the Staples Center. It was hysterical. Yes, Hulk Hogan, the wrestler. Without that, wrestling is not what it is today. However, without Terry Bollea, the individual, I, I just, it doesn't, I don't know how to process this yet. But yeah, it's been, waking up and seeing that this morning, I've been seeing posts on both ends of the spectrum. And it's one of those times where you're just like, you know what? I don't know how I feel, so I'm not going to say anything. And believe it or not, Josh, I showed a lot of restraint. The only Hulk Hogan reference that I will make publicly outside of this podcast comes in Friday's bankroll blurb in the Pink Sheet, where I reference one of my horses doing the equine equivalent of "that doesn't work for me, brother." Yeah, so that's about all I got on that. No, I believe it or not, I wasn't a Hulk Hogan guy growing up. I was a fan of Sting, the guy with the face paint.
Do you remember there was a card game there was a wrestling card game. Oh my goodness, what was it called?
When was this?
Oh, this has got to be 15 years ago, 16, 17 years ago.
Okay, then that would be when I was in college. So no, I wouldn't have heard of it.
What the heck was it called? Raw Deal was
Oh
the name
no,
of
I
the game.
never heard that. Good name though.
It came out in 2000 actually. But when Raw Deal was out, I remember one of the game stores I frequented. They had like a Raw Deal night, and I built a Hulk Hogan deck, right? Where like all and so like his like the deck of cards, like all his moves and stuff like that. Like it was a really interesting game. I didn't get too into it, but yeah, like the big, growing up, someone my age, basically being of the wrestling age in the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, him and the Monday Night Wars and all that stuff. Like, it was, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of memories of watching a lot of that stuff. And like I actually haven't thought about Hulk Hogan in a while, but he was recently in my head because of watching the whole John Cena heel thing, and I really kind of think like. I really kind of think that, and I'm sure we've probably lost everybody by this point if anyone's listening.
If you're still
But
around, trust me, we will get to Saturday's late pick four at Saratoga in just a couple of minutes. Don't worry, this tangent will not last much longer.
but I always just like I kind of feel bad because I think John was hoping he would have his Hogan moment with the heel turn. But I just don't think that's I don't think that's the way that's going to go for him. But
I don't
you
think
know,
he's losing any sleep over it, given how much money WWE is making off of this retirement run. They're selling out buildings. Ticket prices are absolutely through the roof. They're not running as many live events as they used to. Josh, WWE used to be on the road 5 or 6 days a week. They don't do what are called house shows very much at all now. So when WWE goes on the road, it's a legitimate event. Tickets are north of $100 for the cheap seats now. And I'm not
hmm,
talking for one of the big shows. I'm talking just for one of the weekly TVs. It's pretty crazy, and you've got to get lucky to be able to get in without losing your shirt.
yeah. All right, let's move on to some more positive news here. And we got the late pick 4 here at Saratoga. And we got 2 stakes races. We got 3 turf races. So this I don't know. I thought this was an interesting sequence, mostly because I have an opinion in race 10. If you already watched our stream, on the On the Wrong Lead network, On the Wrong Lead on YouTube, or if you catch it on X at wrong_lead. We did cover these 2 stakes races, so I won't talk too much in depth, but we are going to start with a Grade 3 race, the Lake George, on the inner turf, going to mile and 16th here. Your morning line favorite is the number 5 Classic Q at 2-1. Andrew, I kind of landed on this horse for a number of reasons. One, this just looks like the fastest horse. Um, Two, this is the horse coming in with some nice form. And I mean, Jose Ortiz and Mark Casse are just absolutely on fire the last I don't know, the last month or so. I mean, if I feel like they're winning everything. And when I look at this pace projector here on the Timeform PPs, uh, the 5 looks like he's going to be rather loose here. And being loose on the Saratoga inner turf is always very, very dangerous. Shout out to one of Mark's favorite horses, a horse that made a lot of money being loose on the inner turf in Voodoo Song. Yeah, I think Classic Q here is just going to get loose out here on the front end, and I think is going to be tough to run down. I have this as a lone A. Andrew, how did you kind of see this race?
First of all, I wish Mark luck in his election for the presidency of the Voodoo Song Fan Club. He's going up against Greg Wolf from the New York Racing Association, who goes out of his way to bring up Voodoo Song on every single Saratoga shift. Voodoo Song won 4 times in one Saratoga meet a couple of years ago. Really cool to watch. I'm talking about that because my analysis of this race is very simple. It's 4 words: lone speed, inner turf. 5's a single for me here in Classic Q. Last time out, beat a couple of these in a stakes race at Saratoga just a few weeks ago. Did need to work a little bit to make the lead. If you're watching us on YouTube, first of all, thank you. You're seeing the time form numbers, and the early speed was a 126. That's legitimate. This horse is not cheap speed or inexpensive velocity or anything like that. There have been times when she's been a bit off the pace, but those have been in races with some very fast paces. If you look at the race 3 back at Churchill Downs, you see a lot of red in the early part of that race. They went fast early on. Same with a couple of those races down at Gulfstream Park. That's a very firm turf course that sometimes sees some really fast, really wacky times. I think Classic Q leads from flag fall to that's all. I don't think she winds up getting challenged early, and I think she's got potential to lead them every step of the way. She's a single for me in part because if she doesn't win, I honestly don't know who does. The one price that I want to talk about for just a moment, if you're looking a little bit deeper, is the 8 Ateradora, who I think may have a bit more early speed than what she's been showing. She's been running up against some nice horses. 2 back, she was 4th in the Edgewood. Nitrogen wound up winning that race. We know how good Nitrogen is. Last time out, she was 4th in the Regret. I don't think she was winning, but she didn't have a great trip on that particular occasion. I think she may be eligible to improve. She would, however, need to run a career best race in order to win this. But if you're playing exactas or tries, I would certainly throw the 8 in on the bottom rungs because I do think she's good enough to get a piece of this at a nice number. But for multi-race purposes, Classic Q is a single for me. If she doesn't win, I lose.
Yeah, when we talked about this race, it was tough. You kind of click through, and you don't really see anybody that's led at any part before maybe the end outside of Classic Q. So I really do think that this is a lone speed situation. Um, the one horse that Caleb kind of put me on a little bit when he was talking about was the 6 Princess Attitude. And this is just a case of a horse that has literally done nothing but take steps forward. If you're looking on the PPs here with us, if you look at the time form figs, this is a horse that has just improved every single time that this horse has run. Now, granted, I'm sure at some point that's going to stop, but I think that seeing her run somewhere in the 108 range on time form in this race, Classic Q has been running 110 or has run a 110. I think maybe this is a type of horse. Maybe you do key in second. Maybe you use as a B or C if you want to go a little bit deeper. But me personally, I'm just going to use the 5 Classic Q as a lone A, and I'm going to move on.
So I do have a question about Princess Attitude because
Hmm.
underneath, I don't hate that play. But if you like Princess Attitude, don't you have to like number 10 Play with Fire, who dusted Princess Attitude 2 starts back and then came back and ran second behind Classic Q last time out? I don't like the post with Play with Fire, and that's the reason I'm singling Classic Q. But just in looking at this, I wouldn't get too entranced by the price because you are going to get one. I'm just looking at this, and if you think Princess Attitude is eligible to improve, maybe Play with Fire moves forward as well. And if that's the case, Princess Attitude is still up against it a little bit on the win end. But I'm not going to fault anybody for going after a price. I know where Caleb's head is at, and there are a couple of races on the sheet that at least look okay.
Yeah, the one interesting thing I'll say about Princess Attitude though too, last race actually got a 111 raw figure, so it was pace adjusted down. So, you know, that's a pretty big adjustment, but that's a pretty big raw fig. So just something to keep in mind there. That this is a horse that has run, I think, a pretty good race there previously. Anything else in here?
No, I think that's pretty much it for the Lake George. By the way, Lake George, New York, fun vacation spot. Went there every summer with my dad growing up. There's a Six Flags up there. There are also several nationally acclaimed miniature golf courses. If you're a mini golf enthusiast, there are some places up there you're going to want to visit.
Is that where Friendlies is?
There is a friendlies, yes. That's part of that. There's also a 36-hole miniature golf layout that's actually won national awards in the past called Around the United States and Around the World. My dad and I played there every year growing up. There's a couple of layouts up there that it's a lot of fun. Put it that way. You can go around with your putter and play 5 or 6 rounds in a day for not a lot of money. It's a really fun way to spend a day.
All right, race 10, the Jim Dandy, grade 2 here, going a mile and an eighth. Andrew, where did you land?
So my analysis is going to be shorter than yours. I don't think Sovereignty loses. I understand if you're trying to take a stand because you don't like 2 to 5 on Sovereignty, that's fine. And if Sovereignty hadn't shown early interest last time, I would almost understand it. But Sovereignty did show early interest last time and ran a remarkable race, not just beating journalism, but kicking his ass on that particular occasion. I think Sovereignty gets an ideal trip sitting just off the pace set by Moplex. I don't think they're going to go very fast. I think Sovereignty gets first run turning for home. And if he's got any gas in the tank at all whatsoever, I think the race is for second. What I will say as far as the underneath goes, I'm not entirely selling all of my Hill Road stock. If you may remember, I liked him a little bit in the Belmont. He was sort of one pace that day, but it's not like Baeza, who's going to be the clear second choice in this race, beat him by all that much on that particular occasion. He's got to make up 3 lengths. That's not inconceivable. And Hill Road is going to be 4 or 5 times the price with Chad Brown and Arad Ortiz Jr. So I am going to have at least a small 5-4 exacta in this particular spot in the event that Hill Road winds up going back to the form we saw 2 starts ago when he rallied to win the Peter Pan. I have never been high on Baeza. I hated him in the Kentucky Derby, and I was very, very happy that the wire came when it did. I didn't particularly like him in the Belmont. He was third, beaten over 6 lengths by Sovereignty on that occasion. But Josh, you have him up on the video screen right now. I'm just guessing you like him a lot more than me.
Yeah, he's my second choice in this race. Um, I'm actually going to go with Moplex as my top pick. Um, and so there's a couple of reasons here. Sovereignty obviously has not done anything wrong this year. I will say though, we are cutting the furlong back. Right, we're not going the mile and a quarter. We're going the mile and an eighth. And I just wonder if there's a chance that maybe the horse doesn't get going early enough for this. Now, granted, I agree with you, Andrew. I was kind of shocked, and in the I was shocked at how early Junior got him going last time. And that was the right move, right? Like Junior knew he couldn't sit back in that race. He had to make sure he kept contact in that race. So I do think he's going to need to do the same thing here, and he very well may, right? But we're talking, like I said, a shorter distance, and I do think that Moplex has shown, one turn speed, let alone two turn speed. So I do think that, if Manny Franco gets really aggressive on Moplex, maybe he just gets brave on the front end and kind of and just goes. Now, I will say, I in time form I trust, right? And if you look on time form, Moplex sits really, really well with these horses. Baeza's not that much off. Like honestly, if you look at time form, Sovereignty's only got one race that absolutely dusts this field, and that's the Belmont. You go back to the Kentucky Derby, you got a 119, you got a 114 the Florida Derby, 113 the Fountain of Youth. So, something in the 120s is going to be really, really competitive here, and I do think Moplex is capable of running that. Now, I think if you take a look at the formulator and you kind of look at what Bayer has, well, now you're looking at Sovereignty running a 109 versus a 102 that Baez has run, and a 96 that Moplex has done. Much, much bigger difference. So really, I'm kind of trusting what I'm seeing on time form. I think Moplex is going to run a good race either way. So I'm going to take a shot against Sovereignty, and maybe I'm just grasping at straws at this point, Andrew. But whenever I'm trying to beat a 2 to 5, I tend to do this kind of thing. The last two races, there's been a little bit of cut in the ground, and those have been his two best races, right? They've also been a little bit longer. So if we get a dry track and we're cutting back, I mean, not saying that this isn't something he hasn't done before or run well doing before, but maybe you don't get the same effort that you got in the Belmont. And while Mark was trying to make the argument that even Sovereignty's B race wins this, I think his B race is a lot closer to the A races that these other horses can run than maybe Mark thought. So I'll go with the 3 Moplex as my A top pick. I'll give Baeza another shot only because of the jock switch, and we're getting the turf god of the West, Hector Barrios, in to ride this horse. No disrespect to Flavian Pratt, who I started waxing poetic about maybe about 3 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden he went on an all-time cold streak. Where he's not been off to a great start to the meet. So maybe I'm the reason Joel Rosario completely fell off the face of the planet the last couple of years. Maybe it's me. But yeah, I think if you kind of look back at the times Hector's ridden this horse, he's gotten Baeza involved much, much earlier than Flavian has. So I think there's a chance that Baeza just gets the jump on Sovereignty, not vice versa, where, Caleb even said, what did Pratt think he was going to do? He thought he was going to outkick Sovereignty, like being behind him. So, Yeah, I think hopefully Hector's gets a little bit of change of tactics here, and we'll see what Baeza can do. I've heard nothing but good things on Twitter and from Naira, people on like the Naira simulcast and stuff. How well Baez is working. It actually got Caleb to watch workouts, which he never does, and he said that they looked impressive. So we'll take a shot here. I'll use Moplex as my top pick, but I'll use Baeza as well.
I'm happy you mentioned tactics with Baeza because from the rail, with not a ton of other apparent early speed in the race, doesn't he have to at least show some interest early on? You would think that at a minimum, he's probably going to be sitting second, about a length off of Moplex. And he has shown some speed in the past. If you go back to February at Santa Anita, he wound up running pretty fast early on in that race. They went 22-4 for the opening quarter. He's got some speed. So it would not shock me if this early pace is a little bit faster than maybe we think it's going to be. I'm not saying it's going to be a meltdown. Please don't get that twisted. But I wouldn't be surprised if we got legitimate fractions and they went, say, I don't know, 47-3 to the half, which would not necessarily be super fast, but certainly moderate and something that would set up for the best horse to potentially win this. Unfortunately for everybody else, I think Sovereignty is just clearly the best horse in the race, and I'm not going to get cute, especially when it comes to multi-race exotics. If Sovereignty doesn't win, I have to imagine a lot of tickets in a lot of sequences go up in smoke.
Race 11. We have a New York bred maiden race here going a mile and 16th on the turf. And yeah, your morning line favorite is Hello Beauty here at 5-2. You get 9-2 on off script, and then it seems to be a little flat after that. Talia, Night Jasmine at 6-1, Will of a Woman at 8-1, Nona Lynn at 6-1, Starship Pegasus at 8-1. You got a bunch of AEs, so big competitive field. Yeah, Andrew, I kind of landed on a couple horses here. I got three. I do think the morning line favorite, Hello Beauty, the 9, is in here and looks pretty tough. This is a horse that had been running in open maiden races and was running well. And obviously is not getting a humongous class drop, but usually going from open to state bred, it gives you a bit of a softer field here. So I like the 9 Hello Beauty here a little bit. It looks like Frankie Dettori is listed as a rider here, so we'll see if Frankie actually is riding this horse. But I thought that Hello Beauty, I mean, this is a horse that has got two races in the hundreds here for on time form, and has kind of, I don't know, has come from off the pace a little bit. Last time was a little bit closer up, but just kind of ran evenly in a circle, made up some ground, but wasn't enough to win. So curious what kind of tactics they end up using with the 9 in this spot. But I like the 1 Night Jasmine a bit here. Joel Rosario for Hector De Paz, and
Horacio.
yeah, this is just Horacio. Excuse me, sorry. This is one that has been improving every time out, and Joel's actually been off to an okay start to the meet here. And him and Horacio are 1 for 3 the last I think it's the last year. So he doesn't ride very much for Horacio De Paz, but English Channel here, tap it on the bottom. This is the horse that they want to get going long on the turf. And I think this is just kind of an improving type. So I like this one here. And then the 7 on a summer day. This is the horse that has gotten a number of tries here and has yet to break his maiden or her maiden. But this is the horse that you have seen some steady improvement in. And when I kind of look at this race, it looks like a pretty even pace. But I do think the 7, 3 back at Aqueduct had a really, really nice run. Ended up finishing second in that race. Came to Saratoga, kind of just I don't know what happened there. It looked like there was a bunch of trouble in the start, kind of crossed the line through that one, and then kind of backed it up with another nice race here at Aqueduct. Coming off a month layoff, uh, there's a couple of horses from that same race coming in here, but this is a horse that was kind of up on a pretty fast pace in that race, and I just don't think that you're going to get as fast of a pace here. So maybe if Jose Lascano is able to kind of track, I think, a little bit and ration this horse out a little bit more on the front end on a summer day, I think could be dangerous here. So I'm going to have the 1, the 7, and 9 on my tickets. Andrew, who do you got?
So I'm going against Hello Beauty in this spot, assuming that she winds up running, assuming Frankie Dettori is on her, whatever. I'm just not blown away. And considering that she's going to be a significant favorite in this race, I think she's an underlay at her likely price. I see a horse that has had plenty of chances, yes, against better company, but I'm looking at a couple of these races, and I think we may very well be looking at a horse that likes to run with her friends and doesn't necessarily love passing other horses. If you wind up looking at at the difference between the wire and the point of call before that, the only time where she's making up significant ground was last time out, and that race had a pretty fast middle section to it. So I'm going to make Hello Beauty beat me. I don't love the post. I don't think she towers over this field. My top pick is a horse, Josh, that you actually didn't touch on, and that's the 6, Nona Lynn. Nona Lynn has only run twice. She debuted at Aqueduct back in September. She didn't break well. There wasn't a lot of speed. She had a Z pattern to her. If you look at the running lines, you see that she made a little bit of a move turning for home, ran out of gas, then went to the sidelines for quite a while. She comes back at Saratoga in June. She doesn't get a lot of pace to run at, but you can see significant improvement. She winds up flying to finish second, beaten just a neck in her first start in 9 months. The pedigree indicates that she's going to get much, much better with experience. I do think she's going to get some pace to run at here. I'd be pretty surprised if we got the 6-1 morning line. And if we do, that's worth a win bet, I think, because I think she's very well meant. I am, however, going to go 4 deep. My stronger play is against your favorite rather than for Nona Lynn, as much as I like her. I'm with you on Night Jasmine. My concern with Night Jasmine, though, is she's got a history of gate issues. I do think she's got the right rider in Joel Rosario to get her out of the gate smoothly. Also, don't sleep on the also eligible in that entry. That's the 1A, Just One More. Just One More has some early speed as well. Going to be using that one. I'm also going to be using the H. James Bond entry of Sassetti and Amazing Gracer, who's an also eligible. I see Jose Ortiz riding for H. James Bond, and I've got some questions because you have to think he had options, and he winds up getting on this horse after she had Katie Davis and Javier Castellano in the last 2 starts. No disrespect to either of those riders, but you can make the argument that Jose Ortiz is the best dirt rider on the NYRA circuit, or turf rider, on the NYRA circuit right now. That's curious to me. And also number 2, be Amazing Gracer, had a Z pattern last time out, has a right to improve at second asking if she's allowed to run. I'm also going to use number 5, Will of a Woman, who was third beaten a neck in the same race that Nona Lynn exits. So for me, I'm 1, 2, 5, and 6 here. I'm trying to go against the 9 and extract some value out of the sequence, especially because I started out going chalk single, chalk single.
All right. And then the last race, race 12. We're going to be going a mile and 16th. We got a maiden claimer here.
What a mess.
Turf. You said, what a mess?
What a mess.
How did you see this one?
Again, what a mess. This is a classic NYRA grass grab bag to finish the day with here. I wound up going 5 deep, and you're going to want to get the defensive B alert button ready because I just don't have a strong opinion in this particular race. Number 7, Fateful Lightning, is your 2-1 morning line favorite. Drops in for Brad Cox. I don't think he's going to be 2-1 when the gates are sprung. I think he might be favored, but I think you're probably going to get 5-2, 3-1 here. So me going 5 deep while also including him isn't an absolutely god awful ticket. But I'm looking at the 2-back race at Churchill. He was third that day against Maiden Special Weight Company, and that day's winner came right back to win again at Next Asking. That's a key race. Not quite sure what happened last time. Maybe it was a wide trip. Maybe he was going way too long, going a mile and 3/8. But he cuts back in distance. He's got a much weaker field here. It makes a lot of sense. I'm using him, but you're looking at a maiden claimer to end the day. It's not like any of these horses are overly reliable as far as their form goes. I'm going to try to interest you, Josh, in a little bit of a price. And by a little bit of a price, I mean 15 to 1 on the morning line. My second choice is number 3, Captia, who goes out for the barn of Phil Antonacci. Phil Antonacci doesn't have a lot of horses. He's only saddled 3 of them at this particular meet. He's won with 2 of them. His horses are running. He doesn't have many horses, just 29 starts on the season. He's got 7 wins. Blinkers go on. He's been gelded since the last start, and that last start was a pretty good one. The top 2 horses came right back to win it Next Asking. I see workouts that are steady. I see Ricardo Sanjana Jr. hopping aboard. I see a horse that last time out may have lost the race at the gate, which, hey, it was his career debut. These things happen. I see 15 to 1. I think that's an overlay, and I think there's a fair amount to like in that particular instance there. I'm also going to use number 9, Battle Drum, who stretches back out to 2 turns for Todd Pletcher. I think 2 turns is absolutely the route he wants, and he's been pretty close in the last 2 outings. I'll use number 10, Hedge the Risk, even though I think that one might be an underlay based on the connections solely, but you can make the argument this horse has had trouble in every single start, and if he winds up getting a clean trip, I don't want him beating me. The other price that I decided to throw in at the last minute, even though he's probably a C for me, not an A or a B, a C, is the 11 Got Stripes. Got Stripes has run twice against maiden special weights, hasn't run particularly well, but you can make the argument he needed the debut, then cut back to a sprint distance that he's in no way bred for. He's by without parole out of a street crime mare. That pedigree indicates he wants to go long. I think he winds up benefiting from the route as well as the drop in class. And there's Jose Ortiz again riding for Cherie DeVoe. Those 2 won pretty much everything in sight at the fairgrounds meet this past spring. Would not surprise me if they wind up putting one over here at a little bit of a price. No strong opinion here. I'm 5 deep, 3, 7, 9, 10, 11. And if the 3 winds up at 15 to 1 on the morning line, I think that's incorrect. I think there's reason to believe that one might be sitting on a pretty big race.
Yeah, we agree on 2 horses.
Oh, okay.
The 7, Fateful Lightning. I'm going to use, and I'm going back, looking at that Churchill race. Obviously the winner, Esmar, came back to win. We've seen Fateful Lightning come back, but the 4th place finisher, Ambition, also came back to win next asking. So, and all of those kind of improved off of that time form fig. So, I do think that something. The horse was kind of flat, I think, last time out, but there's definitely some ability there. So, I do think that 102 is legit, and that 102 will win this race quite a bit. Hedge the Risk. I have learned that these races at the end, it's very easy for us to look at these races and overthink them, right? And Andrew, you even said it's the grass grab bag at the end, not grab ass, grass grab bag, and like the amount of times that I've seen one of these turf routes with it's a Chad Brown and Manny Franco, or Chad Brown and Dylan Davis now, like someone who he uses pretty often, but like isn't Pratt or or
Jose
Irad or whatever.
Lozano sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just a horse that goes off at 4 to 1 as the 3rd choice and just like wins by 3, and then you just like look and you're like, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But in like, obviously that's connections and all this other stuff that's not on the paper. But what we do see on the paper, this is a horse that actually ran pretty well. Slight little Z pattern on the first time on the turf, and You would just expect that second time turf for Chad Brown is going to be a step forward, and a small step forward puts this horse right in the mix. So hedge the risk. I'm going to use that horse. I got a bomb. The number 12 Ski Bum. And, you know, this is a horse that has shown a lot of speed last two times. Last race, actually, he was. It looked like he was going to win that race, and then the last mile or last 16th of a mile, and horse just ended up running out of gas there and got kept on for third there. The race two back once again set out blazing fractions at Saratoga on June 6th. Kyberkoa at 40 to 1 was out there, and you know time form really really liked that race. Gave that horse a 101, which is the second fastest figure in the entire field. I am a huge proponent of time form figures, especially when it comes to the turf. And I just think that this is going to be a horse. People are going to see Lane Luzzy aboard again. I mean, honestly, I see T. Proctor. I have no clue what this guy's first name is.
Tom. That's
Tom
Tom
Proctor.
Proctor. Tom Proctor had been a mainstay in California for many years. He's popped back up after a couple of years of quietness, but he is Glen Hill Farms' primary trainer. He's won a number of big races. He had a mare named One Dreamer, I believe, that won the Breeders' Cup Distaff.
And I just think that Ski Bum has got some time form figs in here. And for obviously, slightly lesser known connections, I mean, people are going to see Lane Luzzy, and that's not exactly, not exactly one of the top riders at Naira. I mean, he's won some nice races, and you get nice prices on him. But, you look at, and this is something I was talking about on stream. I'm mostly a time form guy, but every once in a while now I find myself flipping to the formulator. And you look at a horse like Fateful Lightning, ran a 78 buyer last time out, right? And people who use buyer figures, a DRF, which is a humongous amount, they're going to see that and they're going to bet that 78. They're going to come down. They're going to look at a horse like Battle Drum with a 74, right? And they're going to see 71. You get all the way down to Ski Bum, and you're like, it's a 65, right? Like this horse looks way too slow. You look at time form, and this horse is right there. So I think that this is going to be a horse that's going to be a sneaky price. Is going to show all the speed in this race, and outside of the six, who has shown dirt speed, I don't know. I mean, there's a shot that maybe this 12 just kind of gets out there and gets loose. Like it's going to be coming from that outside post. We're probably asking a lot here, but I don't know. I thought that maybe I'm talking way too much for trying to talk myself into a 15 to 1. But I looked at this horse for quite a while. This is a tournament play. This is going to be a win bet for me, and I kind of like this 12 Ski Bum here at a bit of a bomb price.
I would like him a little more, if not for the post position. I think the post position absolutely kills him. He's going to need to go early, and I think there's more speed in this race than you might be letting on. Mikhail on the rail has some early speed, suspiciously named as a bomb, but he's gone early and set some fast fractions. Majestic Michael, as you've mentioned, dirt speed, but there is some speed there. Number 8, Majorca, is the other one that I would watch early on. First time for Joe Sharp, has shown a lot of early speed and adds blinkers. I think that's an indicator that this horse is going to go early. I wouldn't be shocked if Battle Drum presses. There's some speed signed on in here, but if Ski Bum was breaking on the, say, inner half of the field, I could be convinced to throw him into the ticket and make my $10 ticket a $12 ticket. I don't hate where your head is at. I just think he's going to have way too much to do from that far outside post. And I think the early pace may very well be pretty quick. I do think Lane Luzzy, though, is going to have him on the front end. And look, it's an inner turf race at Saratoga. There's far worse places to be than on the lead on the inner turf at Saratoga. And if that one winds up drifting up a little bit, I could certainly see providing some value at, say, 20 to 1, 25 to 1. Again, I think the post position is the biggest negative there.
Anything else on this race?
I mean, this is a mess. This is the typical end of the day race that they throw in to try to make those late multi-race exotics just a little more challenging for bettors like us. I'm going 5 deep. Thankfully, I've got a couple singles earlier on in my pick 4 ticket that'll keep the cost of the ticket down significantly. This is a very challenging race to end the day on. Race number 12 of 12. They're going to be running pretty late. The listed post time is 6:49 Eastern. Probably going to be about 7 o'clock Eastern by the time this goes off.
All right. And Andrew, I got your ticket up here.
Yep. Single against the favorite, and then spread. So we're going 5 with 1, 2, 5, 6, with 3, 7, 9, 10, 11. For 20 bets at a 50-cent mutual, that's a $10 ticket, trying to keep it reasonably affordable. And look, if you're more into shorter wagers and you're into the money management side of things, and your gripe is, why didn't Andrew give out a double 5 with 5? I intend to play a double 5 with 5 to start. Ticket police, go away. Save it.
I am going to be, I have a $9 ticket here. I'm going to be 5 with 1, 3, with 1, 7, 9, with 7, 10, 12. So I'm with you on that 5 in the first leg. We're going to try and get around sovereignty and see if we can get it home a little bit here. I didn't really look, at the first race of the pick 5, which is race 8 in this case, but if you were a bit of a person who prefers the pick 5 to the pick 4, I do think that horse like I was trying to make a case for a horse like the 2 Stewie, but I think there's going to be a lot of pace in that race. So I think that eighth race is going to be tough. I think it's going to be kind of a spread race for me. So I think the late pick 5 is probably going to be a much larger ticket than the pick 4.
What I will say about race number 8 is there is an angle that pops up that when it is at Saratoga, I love it. More so in the lower level claiming races, but every once in a while, you'll see it in allowances as well. Number 4, I believe it's Blamaker is the correct pronunciation. Finger Lakes horse that brings the Finger Lakes rider. Whenever high percentage barns at Finger Lakes do that, use the horse. If they wind up picking up a local rider from Saratoga, you can take or leave. But if a guy like Andre Worry comes in from Finger Lakes and makes that long 4-hour drive from Finger Lakes to Saratoga, he's not coming to sightsee. He's coming to win because he's only going to ride in maybe 10 races all meet at Saratoga. But every year he's got 2 or 3 wins, and they usually come at prices. So watch out for those Finger Lakes horses. There's one on Friday at Saratoga that I like quite a bit in a claiming race, and I may very well, assuming that one's ready to run and wins, take some of those winnings and wheel it back on Blamaker, especially if that 8-1 morning line holds up.
All right, Andrew, where can people find you this weekend?
Well, you can find me in print in the Pink Sheet. You can find me online at andrewschampagne.com. And who knows, you might be able to find me in some AI video on YouTube. Really quick plug here before we wind up bidding you adieu for another week. I do want to bring up a project that the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame was kind enough to let me in on. It is a book called The Racetracks of America. You can pre-order that through the Hall of Fame's website. I have a section in there on the Northern California racing fairs. A bunch of very talented writers are involved in this project. Joe Nevels wrote something about Michigan racing. There are a number of Eclipse Award-winning writers that were attached to this project. I am incredibly grateful to have my name alongside theirs. It's been, like I said, it's been a heck of a year this week for a lot of different reasons that we're not going to get into right now. But being able to say, hey, this is coming out in August, you can pre-order it. I'm part of it, and I'm very proud of this. It's pretty darn cool, man.
Nice. And you can check us out at ontheronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Andrew is at Andrew Champagne. Make sure you check out our friends at DRF. Check out the DRF chatbot at chat.drf.com. Good luck, everybody. Let's make some money. Have a good weekend.